Hello my brothers and sisters, thank you all for tuning in to another video and continuing to join me on this journey. Today I don't have a Bible study video to bring you. Kayvon is busy this week and John is feeling under the weather. So instead we're going to do a review on everything we learned in Genesis so far. There was a God. When there was nothing else, there was only God. God created everything out of a void of nothingness. God created everything that we know today through his immense power. The first people that he created was Adam. Adam was to look over this land named the Garden of Eden. Adam was to look over the animals and to take care of the garden. However, he wanted a companion. He wanted a helpmate, and he wasn't able to become a companion to the animals. He was to take care of the animals. So instead, a rib was pulled out of him, and God created a woman out of this rib, and she became the first woman to us all, and that is Eve. Adam and Eve continued to live in this garden until Eve was manipulated by a serpent of death. This serpent tricked Eve into taking a bite of this forbidden fruit that God told Adam and Eve not to eat. The serpent told Eve that if she took a bite out of this fruit, she would have all the knowledge that God had and would be more like God. However, they were already created in the image of God. So this manipulation just told Eve the difference between good and evil. Now that she knew this difference, she had to take responsibility for her action. She also got Adam to take a bite of this fruit. Instead of Adam watching over his wife Eve and protecting her from the serpent or chasing down the serpent and getting him out of the garden, he took a bite of this fruit alongside Eve after she brought it to him. After both of them ate this fruit, they realized the difference between good and evil, and then they also realized they were naked. When God found out that they ate out of this fruit, he banished them and kicked them out of this Garden of Eden, this perfect place. When they were out on their own, they had to begin to fend for themselves. The first two humans that were created on this earth were Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel were the brothers and sons of Adam and Eve. When Cain and Abel reached a certain age, they both of them gave an offering to the Lord. Abel gave his most precious lamb to the Lord as an offering. However, Cain gave a fruit that he found off of the ground to the Lord. Our God, he respected the offering that Abel gave him over the offering that Cain gave him. And because of this, Cain grew jealous of his brother Abel. Through this jealousy, Cain killed Abel, and this became the first murder in human history. Then Adam and Eve, they had a new child after they had to deal with all the stress and all the pain of losing Abel. They kicked Cain out of the land, and they started their family fresh with a new child, Seth, and they also had many other children. Over time, the generations kept becoming more and more wicked. They turned to their evil ways instead of focusing on their good ways. And because of this, God was going to get rid of all of his creation and wipe them all out by a flood. However, he found one righteous man in this new generation, thousands of years after Adam and Eve. And this new man was Noah. Noah was the most righteous man of his time and the most righteous man of this new generation. So God told Noah to prepare an ark and to start building this giant boat, for when the flood comes, Noah and his family will be the only humans left to survive. So Noah built this flood. Through God's word, he knew that he had to gather 2 of every type of animal and 7 of every type of bird, and he brought them all onto this ark alongside himself, his wife, his 3 sons, and their 3 wives. On this ark, they had to stay there for a long time until the water finally went down and they landed on a mountain. They went out into their new land and they became the last 8 survivors of the human race. The 3 sons were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Over time, they all spread out and they all had huge families, and then it leads us to Abraham. Abraham was another righteous man, and one of the most righteous men during his time. He, like Noah, had a special covenant with God. I also want to mention, after the flood, God promised Noah another flood will never happen to his people, and they won't face the same demise that the people before them did. Getting back to Abraham. Abraham was a righteous man during his time, and he did a lot of good through God. He had a wife named Sarah. His original name was Abram, and her original name was Sarai. However, they changed their names because God told them to later. Abraham and Sarah spread out, and they gathered a lot of goods from neighboring kingdoms and neighboring nations until Abraham became a very powerful man. However, his nephew, later in the story, was in a tough spot. One of the nations that his son nephew Lot stayed at was conquered by other nations. So Abraham led all of his people to go fight this nation that captured Lot alongside other servants and other people, and he freed Lot and the other people. After this, Abraham met Melchizedek. Abraham met Melchizedek, who is a very interesting person within this Bible. Melchizedek brought both bread and wine and gave Abraham a very special blessing. Over time, Abraham and Sarah couldn't have a child of their own. So Sarah gave Abraham her handmaid, and through this handmaid we get Ishmael, Abraham's first son. However, years after, God told Abraham, in 1 year you and Sarah will have a kid, and this child will continue my covenant. And that is how we get Isaac. Abraham and Isaac are 2 members of the patriarch, alongside Isaac's son Jacob. Isaac had 2 sons with a woman named Rebekah. Isaac and his 2 sons, who are Jacob and Esau, lived a flourishing life together. Esau was a hunter, but Jacob was a smooth man. Jacob was easy to talk to and an intelligent individual, kind of like a deceiver. He could easily manipulate other people, and through this, he tricked his brother Esau into giving him his birthright. Jacob also, later down the line, tricked his own father, who was blind at the time. As Isaac got old, he got blind, and he told Esau, "Go out and hunt me some venison. Bring me back this venison, cook it for me, and allow me to eat it, and then I'll give you my blessing that my father Abraham passed down to me." So it was supposed to go from Abraham to Isaac to Esau. However, Rebekah heard this, and her favorite child was always Jacob. So when Esau went out to hunt, Rebekah went and slaughtered one of the goats or one of the lambs, one or the other, with her son Jacob, and together they cooked that, and Jacob deceived his father Isaac and stole his blessing from Esau. Then Jacob became the one that had the blessing, and he is also known as the 3rd patriarch within this Bible. Jacob goes forth to have 12 sons, and these are all the 12 sons of Israel. Jacob also has his name changed by God himself to Israel. Jacob also has an interesting story where he wrestles an angel, and he just won't give up. He's wrestling this angel to have another blessing and to be continued to be seen as a righteous man through the eyes of God. Jacob has these 12 sons from 4 different women, while Esau goes out and has multiple sons from other women. This split might seem like it's the start of a new war. However, when Jacob and Esau meet each other again, Esau is just happy to see his brother. This is where we are in the Bible now. Jacob has the 12 sons, also known as the 12 tribes of Israel. One of the sons that is going to be the most important is that son Joseph, and that's what we're going to pick up in Genesis chapter 37 when we come back next week. We have a lot to learn about Joseph and his time in Egypt when he gets sent there by his brothers. I'm not going to spoil anything more than that, and if you have any questions, leave them below. But the most important characters to remember so far is Adam and his wife Eve, Abel and his brother Cain, Noah, who is the most righteous man of his time, Abraham, who is the most righteous man of his time, and Abraham's descendants, Isaac, Jacob, and these 12 tribes of Israel. I thank you all for tuning in to another video. I apologize we can't get a Bible study video out this week. However, we'll pick back up next week. I hope you all have a great day and God bless you all.